I guess we're here to play a few tunes for you, or to talk to you. If any questions you got you want to ask us, feel free. I don't think there's any set format. There's certainly not going to be with us, I can assure you of that. We're going to play a few of Scruggs tunes. I know when I was growing up learning to play, he was definitely my biggest inspiration. He, along with Alan Shelton, and I admired everything he did and does. And we're going to play a few of his tunes for you. I think we're going to start off with a thing called Ground Speed. Is that all right, guys? Yeah. Get it ready. Thank you. I enjoyed that. That was fun, guys. Next. We're just going to kind of take turns. Feel free. If anybody wants to ask us anything or volunteer, you want to come up and play, you want to dance and do whatever you want to do.
Alrighty, howdy. I'm Tom Adams, and Earl Scruggs is definitely my biggest influence when I was growing up and getting started playing the banjo. My dad had some Flat Scruggs records and some Osborne Brothers records and some Buck Owens records. And between the three different banjo styles, which there were two banjo styles, is how I got started playing. And I guess, does anybody have any questions that they're just dying to ask before we either play another tune or...
Tell us where you're from.
I'm from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and that's in the south central part of Pennsylvania. And there's a couple banjo players from that area. Chris Warner, who played with Jimmy Martin in the 60s, and again for like the past 3 or 4 years, real good banjo player from that area, and a couple others. And I think the bluegrass bands would come around to the country music parks that were in southern Pennsylvania and Maryland, influenced a lot of people in that area to take up the banjo from seeing Flat and Scruggs come around, and a lot of appearances by Don Reno as well.
Yeah.
And actually, I saw Don Reno play a lot more than I ever saw Earl play in person, and I have some Reno influence as well as Earl from playing with my dad for a number of years. He sang a lot of slow country songs, and a lot of the Reno licks fit into the slower songs. So, yes. Any other questions? No. Okay. In the back, yes, sir. We recognize the gentleman standing up.
This is a good question for everybody. I think anybody might want to answer. What is it about Scruggs? Now, we all know he's got a great tone or timing or whatever. What is it about Scruggs that made him so much more influential than any other banjo player?
Do you want me to answer that, Pete? You want everybody to answer that?
Thomas right now says in the program seems to be a very influential banjo player, and Scruggs has made influence. What do you get out of listening to him that you try to, you know?
Okay.
If you'd like to be an influential player, I'm sure you would. You know, what do you get from him?
Okay. What influenced me? The albums, the music that I grew up listening to from Earl Scruggs. We had 3 of their albums, Flat Scruggs albums. We had the Foggy Mountain Banjo album around the house, and the Hard Traveling album, and the Folk Songs of Our Land. And on those 2 albums, there's a lot of slower songs on there, and it was a long time before I heard any of the Mercury stuff and the real, burning it down, Foggy Mountain Breakdown and things. And it was just the timing, I think, is what really attracted me to that style of playing. It was just so clean. Just all the notes were real distinct, and just that great timing is what really turned me on to wanting to play like Earl. And I tried to imitate that just as best I could, and then you reach a point where you know, boy, you ain't never gonna get that, because that's what Earl does, and I had to figure out what it is that Tom's gonna do, and just try to do the best on all the things that Earl's good at, trying to get the best timing and the best tone, and but just do what I do, because you can't be somebody else. Carl, you want to give your testimonial to Earl?
When I first started playing, I mean, he was, he and Reno and Shelf and some of those guys, there weren't that many, around, and I felt like Earl's drive, his timing, his just, and especially his tone on the Foggy Mountain Banjo album. I mean, it's never been duplicated, and I guess that's why. I mean, he's like the first to do it that well, I guess. So that's why if somebody else had done it that well before he did, maybe they would be the one that everybody emulates.
Can I say something about
Yes,
that?
you can say anything you want.
I guess I go back further than most of these gentlemen do. I started playing about 1946, and I remember listening to Bill Monroe in Grand Ole Opry, pre-Earl, in Lester time, and Bill was just another country singer, as I always known too. And I heard string being played. He had an accordion with him. Howdy Foster's wife played accordion. Of course, Big Howdy played the fiddle, and Clyde Moody was there. And Clyde was a good country singer, but it wasn't bluegrass. And I turned the radio on one night, and boy, now I heard a 5-string banjo. I'd raised up with a 5-string banjo. I had an aunt that picked real good old time, when I was a boy. And I turned that thing on one night, boy, I heard this thing, and I said, man, well, I've got to go see that. So I live in Nashville, see, big advantage over folks that don't. So I hopped down to Opera with a buddy of mine. Now we were sitting down there, and Paul and Earl came out and played Come and Get or something like that. And I said, man, I've got to learn how to do that. And it was so much different. You can't believe the difference that Bill Monroe sounded. It's the same Bill Monroe and the same mandolin, but you can't believe the difference in the music when Earl and Lester were there. And it stamped my soul, and it's been with me for a long time. And I'm going to die still loving Earl Scruggs music. And the reason I like it is because it was the first real bluegrass music that I ever heard play. Now that's my testimony to whatever that's worth. But that's the way it is. And there are those of us that, you start out playing, just a minute, you start out playing and you say, well, I want to play like Earl. Well, like Tom says, that becomes evident pretty quick that that's not going to happen. So you say, well, I'm going to play like Drumright plays, so I did, or whatever that's worth. But nobody plays like Earl. And Earl sings. Yes, sir, you got a question? Somebody have a question? Okay.
Here's one.
Not being his booker, I couldn't say, but I would say it would be considerable. I don't know. I can't answer that really.
It's tough.
He doesn't play personals anymore. I say he doesn't play anymore. He doesn't play them like he used to. And I suspect it would take pretty big.
I tell you, honestly, my feelings on that is Earl he's one of the nicest people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And he's real prideful.
He's a private person.
He feels like he can't play as good as he could then. I mean, I don't think any of us feel that way. I mean, we would love to hear him play. But he feels like he can't quite duplicate it like he could in his prime, And I know I recently did an album on Jim and Jesse, 25th anniversary album, and I talked to Earl about coming and playing. They did a couple of Flat and Scruggs tunes on the album, and I wanted Earl to play banjo on them, and I tried every way in the world to talk him into doing it. He just felt like, he just said, I just don't feel like I can do you a good job, and of course I know better than that, but I kind of understand, where he's coming from. He just doesn't want to get out much. He's real private.
Gentleman back here had a question.
Yeah.
Not really a question, a request. Despite the fact that you each have your own real distinctive styles that have come away from maybe what you began with Earl, could you each maybe play a tune of Earl's that you like best and try and take a break as close to Earl's as you can, and then also play your own style? That's
Sure.
too much to ask.
I don't see why not.
No, I don't try to play like Earl. I don't know whether I can do that. No, I haven't played like Earl.
We can just play something and see what comes
we'll
out,
just-
I guess. You guys want to play?
Wait a minute. Take this song or whatever.
Let's play, what about Earl's Breakdown?
That's
Fine?
fine.
All right?
But go ahead.
Please. Please ask questions. Last night? Sorry. Yeah, Pete.
It's always fun to hear somebody play some particularly elusive Scruggs lick that they finally figured out. So anybody got some choice ones like that, say, "Ooh, I figured this one out," or "I figured that one out."
Good, interesting question there. For me, on ground speed, those little backward deals on the first part of ground speed there were always very elusive for me at first. And when they finally came into focus, it made me real happy. Those, which they may not sound like much, but they just didn't come out that way for me at first. When I was sitting there with the record, I just couldn't quite grab it.
Sounds easy to start with. It sounds simple, but it's not.
Oh, believe me.
It's not.
Jack's tabs on the Earl stuff. Any real particular one you're happy with?
Yeah, I really was turned on by, you know, when, what is it? Old Hometown, he's got that D lick that's real syncopated. It's backward, also a backward type roll. I was really tickled to death to get that one. And it's just one lick he played at one time, and not very often, but it really lit a light bulb up over my head. I started using it. That's 15 years ago, of course.
What was that lick?
Oh, let me play the song, because I just tried to pull the lick out of it.
Yeah, me too.
So neat, you know. That's one of those that I like a lot. I particularly like playing in the band and doing, what really interested me about Scruggs stuff was the way he'd interpret a vocal melody, and so a lot of the tabs I did in Banjo Newsletter, and a lot of the songs I learned were not banjo tunes, they were vocal songs, but he did real neat banjo breaks too.
Anything else?
I was at a Vanderbilt University symposium that they had, and I met Eugene McCarthy, who was the speaker, and I overheard him speaking to a professor that Earl Scruggs was his hero because Scruggs participated with him on a march in Washington for peace. And that was interesting because he'd become a musical hero since I'd just begun to play banjo, and then to find out that he really happened to care as a good patriot as well. So the next couple of days I was back in Memphis, and I was in a video store, and I picked up a videotape where he was with Joan Baez and a whole bunch of, he has a wide range of thought and interest in philosophy. He's a fascinating man, you know that.
That he is. A good man. Any more questions?
You played Dear Old Dixie.
Dear Old Dixie? I don't see why not.
Like the fellow said, I thought I did, but I heard her.
Be my guest. John, start this one there. Sorry about that. It goes this way, Carl. Anything else you want to hear in particular, or what was that?
Yeah.
Oh, I get mine.
Yeah.
Sure.
I wanted to say exactly the same.
You want to say exactly the same? Somebody else be first.
Go ahead.